Have you ever felt a presence in an empty room? A chill that has nothing to do with the temperature? A feeling that you are being watched, even when you're completely alone? Most of us dismiss these moments as tricks of the mind, our imaginations running wild. But what if they aren't? What if they are fleeting glimpses into something that exists just beyond our understanding? Today, we're diving into a story that challenges the line between what we know and what we fear. This isn't a campfire tale or a work of fiction. This is the real-life experience of a family who found themselves living with something they couldn't see, couldn't explain, but could most certainly feel. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you look at the shadows in your own home. Our story begins with the Chen family, a young couple, David and Sarah, and their 7-year-old daughter, Emily. Like many families, they were searching for their dream home, a place to build memories and watch their daughter grow. They found it in a charming 2-story house nestled on the outskirts of a quiet, historic town. It was old, built in the early 1900s, and had the kind of character that modern houses often lack. Original hardwood floors, a winding staircase, and a large, overgrown garden. It seemed perfect. The previous owners, an elderly couple moving to a retirement community, were eager to sell. Looking back, David remembers a strange, almost sad look in the old woman's eyes as she handed over the keys. "Take good care of her," she'd said, referring to the house. At the time, David thought it was just a sentimental remark. He would soon learn it held a much deeper meaning. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of unpacking boxes and painting walls. The house was filled with the sounds of a happy family. Emily's laughter echoing down the halls, the clatter of pots and pans from the kitchen, the drone of the television in the evening. The strange occurrences started subtly, so subtly that they were easy to dismiss. It began with misplaced keys. Sarah would swear she left them on the kitchen counter only to find them later on the mantelpiece in the living room. Then, it was doors. Doors they knew they had closed would be found slightly ajar. David, a practical man, blamed it on drafts from the old house or simple forgetfulness. "We're just tired from the move," he'd tell Sarah, trying to reassure both her and himself. But the small, explainable incidents soon began to escalate. The focus of the activity seemed to be Emily's room. She started talking about her new friend, a little boy she called Leo. At first, her parents thought it was a typical imaginary friend, a common comfort for a child adjusting to a new environment. They'd play along, asking Emily about Leo. She described him as a boy with sad eyes who was always cold and just wanted to play. The stories were detailed, almost too detailed for a 7-year-old's imagination. She said Leo liked to play with her marbles, and one morning, Sarah walked into Emily's room to find her marbles arranged in a perfect straight line across the floor, something Emily had never done before. When asked, Emily simply said, "Leo did it. He likes things to be neat." A shiver ran down Sarah's spine. The activity was no longer confined to Emily's room. One evening, David was working late in his home office on the ground floor. The house was silent, as Sarah and Emily were already asleep upstairs. He heard a distinct sound from the living room, the sound of a single, slow note being played on the old, out-of-tune piano that had come with the house. He froze, listening. It played again. A single melancholic key. Heart-pounding, he crept out of his office and peered into the darkness of the living room. The room was empty. The moonlight streaming through the window illuminated the piano, its keys untouched. He tried to rationalize it. The house settling, a mouse, anything. But he knew what he had heard. The sound had been deliberate, intentional. Sarah's experiences became more direct and more terrifying. She started hearing whispers, faint and indecipherable, seeming to come from just over her shoulder when she was alone. She'd whip her head around, but there was never anyone there. The feeling of being watched became a constant companion. It was strongest in the upstairs hallway, a long, narrow space with a series of family photos they had just hung. One night, as she was walking to bed, she felt an icy cold draft, and every single photo frame on the wall tilted to the exact same angle. She let out a small cry, and David came rushing out of the bedroom. He saw the pictures and couldn't offer any logical explanation. The fear that had been simmering beneath the surface was now boiling over. This wasn't just an old house with creaks and groans. Something was in the house with them. The breaking point came on a stormy Tuesday night. Emily woke up screaming, a terrifying guttural sound that no parent ever wants to hear. David and Sarah bolted from their bed and ran to her room. They found her sitting bolt upright in her bed, eyes wide with terror, pointing at the corner of the room. "He's angry!" she shrieked, tears streaming down her face. "Leo's angry! He doesn't want us here!" David flipped on the light, revealing an empty corner. But the room was freezing, significantly colder than the hallway. And then they saw it. Scratched into the fresh paint on the wall, as if by a fingernail, were 3 jagged vertical lines. They grabbed Emily and spent the rest of the night huddled together in their own bed, too scared to sleep. The dream house had become a nightmare. The next morning, a sleep-deprived and terrified David and Sarah knew they couldn't ignore it any longer. They needed answers. David started researching the history of the house and the land it was built on. He spent hours at the local library digging through dusty archives and old newspapers. What he found made his blood run cold. In 1928, a family named the Millers had lived in the house. They had a young son, Leo Miller, who tragically passed away at the age of 8 from pneumonia. According to the newspaper article, he died in his bedroom, Emily's bedroom, during a particularly harsh winter. The article included a faded photograph of the Miller family. Standing beside his parents was a small boy with large, sad eyes. It was the face Emily had described. It was Leo. Armed with this knowledge, the strange occurrences suddenly made sense. The cold spots, the misplaced toys, the sad piano note, the whispers. It was the spirit of a lonely little boy, trapped in the house where his life was cut short, reaching out in the only way he knew how. The scratches on the wall weren't an act of malice. They were an act of a child's frustration and fear, a desperate cry not to be forgotten or replaced. Leo wasn't a monster. He was just a lost little boy. Understanding this changed everything for the Chens. Their fear began to transform into empathy and sadness. They weren't being haunted by a malevolent entity, but by the lingering spirit of a child. Sarah, remembering Emily's words that Leo just wanted to play, decided to try and communicate. One afternoon, she went into Emily's room alone. She sat on the floor and spoke into the empty space. She spoke about Leo, saying his name out loud. She told him that they knew who he was, that they were sorry for his sadness, and that they didn't mean to intrude on his home. She acknowledged his presence not with fear but with compassion, she said he was welcome to stay, but he couldn't frighten them, especially Emily. From that day on, the atmosphere in the house began to shift. The heavy, oppressive feeling started to lift. The whispers and cold spots didn't vanish entirely, but they became less frequent, less intense. The activity felt less like a haunting and more like a gentle reminder of Leo's presence. Occasionally, a toy would be moved, or they'd hear the faint sound of a child's giggle when there was no one there. But the fear was gone. They had learned to coexist. The Chens didn't move. They chose to stay, to share their home with its unseen resident. They came to see themselves not as the sole owners of the house, but as its caretakers, not just for the physical structure, but for the spirit within it. This story forces us to question our own perceptions of reality. For the Chen family, the unknown became known, and the terrifying became something they could understand and live with. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the things we fear most are simply things we don't yet understand. What do you think? Could you live in a house knowing you weren't truly alone? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If this story captivated you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the unexplained. Stay curious, stay open-minded, and we'll see you in the next video.